I was born in Prague, and we immigrated to Canada after the Russian invasion in '68. I used to be an academic, so I was a professor of philosophy for 7 years, and I didn't like it so much, so I quit to become a filmmaker. So, and I'm self-taught. So that's my brief story, and I've been lucky to have several films here, so I'd like to show you some clips from some of those. But I would really like to basically interrupt any time. Let's be the nicest, just, you know, so we really, I mean, it's silly to say conversation with 100 people, but really, please don't feel shy to ask a question anytime. So how should we start? I thought maybe we have 2 hours. My idea was this, and if you like something different, I can adjust. I have all my films on a computer here, and so I can show you, you know, basically whatever you like too. But my idea was to show you a long clip from my first film, a long clip from my second film, and then a couple of shorter clips later on, depending on how much time we have, like that. But maybe it would be best, since most of you have seen the Egypt film that just screened now, if we would continue the conversation that we started there a bit. If people have some questions about that film, so maybe we'll do like 10-15 minutes on that, and then show you a long clip, if that's okay. Yeah, please, yeah.
Yes, I have a question. Why didn't you take a cameraman with you? Yeah. And did you use a translator? Yeah. And how it worked when you were communicating with the people? Sure. And how many people were in the team? And how it worked? Just you don't know the language. Sure. I understood. Yeah? Yeah. So how did you behave? Yeah, thank you. Nice question. People, do I need to repeat the question, or did you hear it? It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So how do I work? I didn't take the cameraman because they're too expensive. But I love to shoot. I mean, this is how I learned. When I was an academic... It was not so bad.
What's that? You should see the first film.
No, the picture was not so bad.
Well, thank you. I thought initially I would leave the university to turn myself into a photographer. I thought, I don't know what I should do with myself, so I started spending a lot of time doing photography, and I thought I'll be a press photographer. And I tried that I did photography about for 2 years, in addition to my job. And I thought, this isn't for me, basically, I did the usual thing. I would you go to a far off, sort of dangerous place and think this is interesting, and you meet all these people who do this for a living, and you think, I really don't want to be the first person to run to the hospital to count how many people, were injured or died in this bombing incident. That's not for me. But from there, I really learned a lot about framing a picture, okay? I had no idea about how to move the camera. Well, you'll see when I show you my first film, But I love to shoot. I tried once now. We had a failed project 2 years ago to make a film about WikiLeaks. Didn't work out. They became too famous. We got the access when they weren't famous, and then they became famous, and they basically sold the rights to people who could really pay a lot of money for it. But there, I went on a research trip with a cameraman, first and only time. I don't think I'll do it again. I didn't like it. I just find the magic of looking through the lens, and that's filmmaking for me. But everybody's different, but that's what I really like. But practically, how do I work? With one person always. So I would do the sound on camera because I like to basically not disturb as much as possible, be accepted into a place, and so the less people, the better. So I always work with one assistant. So coming to Egypt, just to back up even, I thought I was going to make a film about Mohammed al-Baradei. People remember, he won the UN Nobel Prize for his work in Iraq, trying to stop the war for the UN Nuclear Inspection Agency. I made a film before this in Iran in 2009, and I was looking for a new subject, and a co-producer on the film suggested, you have to look at what al-Baradei is saying. This was end of 2009. So I did, and I was really impressed. He was already back then talking about how Mubarak would fall, and how the regime would fall apart, how it was corrupt, and how something had to change in Egypt. So I wrote to him, and he didn't write back, so I wrote again, and then I wrote again and again and again. And the usual, like, persistent producing. So after 6 months, and I sent him my films, he agreed to make a film with me. And then it kind of just didn't go anywhere, and I thought, wow, kind of a small story, nothing's changing in Egypt, And then the revolution happened, and so I thought, boy, you turn on the TV and you see, Mohammed al-Baradei returning to Egypt. You think, geez, I've got access to this this, you know, world historical figure, and he's going to be like the George Washington at the Revolution. It's going to be amazing. Wow, we've been. So I call up my producer in Norway, who's so supportive, and he says, "Yeah, great, go. You know, that's it. You know, go." So I did, and arrived in Egypt, and very quickly realized that Dr. Albarde, while you know, extraordinary figure, is not really a character for a film, or in a film that I would like to make. He's you know, not terribly charismatic. And like every diplomat, very closed. So his idea of film access is, yes, you can come to my house, and I'll let you film, you know, interviews I do with Fareed Zakaria and a famous other, you know, journalist. So kind of a vanity thing. So at that point, what do? I stay in Egypt or go home? So I stay. I'm not going to go home without a film. So I just stayed and then spent many months looking for subjects. And while I'm looking for subjects, I'm also at the same time looking for someone to work with me. I mean, this time I thought naively for the first month, I'll just find someone who speaks English as a character, and I'll you know, dispense with the translator part. And then I realized, no, I don't want to work like that. But for me, the hardest part is to find someone to work with, because it's not just the translator; it's really your teammate in the film. You're always together, working all the time, and you know, someone who you can call and say, listen, hey, our character is going to be somewhere at 10 o'clock tonight, let's go. Or, hey, we've got a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be translated tomorrow, let's work, you know, 3 days straight now and get this done, or whatever. So they have to be, you know, super, super dedicated. And above all, they have to be really good with people. So it takes a really long time to find someone, because I think it's really hard. So how do we work then practically when we're in a place, we can say we come here, we have sometimes sort of an idea, and then we sort of kind of film. I mean, we don't. I like to try to do as much cinema verite as I can, so I don't really interrupt things. And then when we do an interview, I'm not going to interrupt the interview between, you know, when someone is talking either, because that kind of breaks the flow of things. So there's a lot of hit and miss then, and a lot of, you know, you have to also then find situations where you can go back to again. So I don't know if that's helpful to describe it.
Okay,
the
so
working, yeah.
How did you find such person?
Okay, the characters in the film. Yeah, we can go through one by one. Or what was in my head when I was in Egypt. So you go there with one subject, it doesn't work out, big stress out, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And then I don't want to let go of the first idea, because I think, well, he's famous, so people will like to see that, and it's going to be important anyway. So just keep going back to his house and see what will happen. Even though deep inside, you know, I think maybe it's helpful to say that for me, this work is really about instincts and intuitions and feelings. You have to really, I have to learn to really, really trust those and work with those all the time. But I didn't drop. Mohammed Albarde got edited out of the film at the end of, you know, after about 8 months. Finally said, nah, it's really not working. But while I was there, so I thought, okay, so, and then I'm in this situation, it's, you know, it's the revolution. I'm there during it, so I'm filming in Tahrir Square for about, you know, the 8 days that I'm there before Mubarak falls. So I've got all this material, and we think, well, what do I use this for? There's no real characters. I mean, there's sort of one, I mean, there was already one character, basically my best friend in Egypt, that came out of this week of filming. He was a young doctor working in these volunteer medical clinics for injured people in the square. He's a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, but he became my best friend, and he made sure I wouldn't get hurt that week. So I would film him a lot, and I would think, oh, he'll become a character in the film. I thought, you know, especially I like him. I like spending time with him, and I think he's a wonderful human being. And so this goes back to the earlier question someone said about choosing characters. Problem with my friend, you know, Mohammed, is that in English, we talk English. He speaks fluent English, but his English, he kind of stutters a bit. It's difficult to, you have to subtitle it, and he's not very charismatic, even though I think he's charismatic. But when I would, you know, show the material to people, no one gets excited about him the way I do, even though he's my friend. So there I learned the tricky part about choosing a character when you're then basically emotionally involved with someone as your friend, to be careful. But so I realized I would film him, same thing, for, you know, off and on for many months. And so that was one story, and then I was following other political subjects. For example, someone told me about a woman activist who was at that point going to be running for president as the only woman, Botaina Camel. Wonderful, very interesting woman. So I would spend, you know, some afternoons or days filming with her. I thought, well, let's see where this goes. But basically, after spending more and more time in Egypt, realized, no, the biggest subject, the most important one here is just basic injustice, basic human rights violations. That's what the film should be about. And the stories would just keep accumulating. I mean, there's so many, unfortunately, so many to choose from. But even to give you an idea then, so practically how would I come across some of these stories? Just go through the film very quickly. The Wally story at the beginning of the film. When I arrived in Egypt, that was the first day. I turned on the television in the hotel, I just arrived, and I see this. It's like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense. It's made for TV. Who thought of this? I didn't believe it was spontaneous. I'd like to know, who were these people who rode in camels on horseback into Tahrir Square? Why would anybody want to do that? So I looked into it, and that's how I found Wally, right? And so then the second story, the couple in the police station. I thought, well, since the revolution, happened because of police brutality, let's see if I can get access to a police station. I'll make a film only about a police station, because I thought certainly there have to be some, efforts at police reform. So, maybe even back up a step. I always work officially, so I'm accredited as a journalist. So I go to the press center in downtown Cairo and say, hey, I've got this idea. I'd like to film at a police station. What do you think? And they said, well, good luck. No foreigner's done that. And I said, well, great, let's try. And they did help me. So it's a funny story because my camera was confiscated at the border. We went to get another camera. So that's how I got to know the people at the press center, because I had to spend a week arguing with them and fighting with them to get my camera back. But they got me permission from the Ministry of Interior to film at a police station. So that's the story you see, and that's where I met by accident Mohammed and Lamiz, the couple who's wrongfully arrested for doing nothing. So, and I'm a firm believer in serendipity and spontaneity and basically luck, that you will find stories that you don't know where they'll come from, and that takes time. So the story of Mohammed again, the ex-convict who's tortured. Similarly, I had for a long time an idea that I would like to find someone who was implicated in state violence, who involved in it, who would want to speak out about it. And that again took a very long time to find. That story we found actually through the second assistant, who was mainly our translator, doing all the transcripts for us. So he was working at, her father's a doctor, and Mohammed was parking cars at his hospital. So that's how we found the story again, right? Couldn't plan that ahead. Well, who did I miss? And then the Michael Nabel story was basically a famous story in Egypt. But you also asked for help. So, when I was going to these basically boring press conferences at Dr. Baradai's house, I'd meet all the local journalists who were going out there as well. And some of them were extremely helpful. So I met one journalist, and he told me when we spent time together, and he said, he called me up and said, you should look at this Michael Nabel story. He said, that's going to be the most important, right after he was arrested, March 2011, he said, that's going to be the most important freedom of speech story. So I followed it, and that's how the story came in. So this was really a film that was basically not pre-planned or scripted or anything like that, and then the storyline built largely in the editing room as well, eventually. So, any other questions? Yeah? If I'm talking too much, we should show a clip. Yeah?
Did the police station people try to imitate your
yes. Well, the way you see that they put on a show for you, right? But I'm a firm believer, if you give enough people enough rope, they'll hang themselves eventually, right? So, in these kind of authoritarian places, it's always the same. As long as someone will let you film, an official, it's eventually going to be good, right? So yeah, their idea that these, the sub-police commissioner you see is being super helpful. He's going to bring out the prisoners to show us how everything wonderful is, and then it's going to be a comedy. But of course, yes, it's much more limited than what they would allow me to do, right? You're allowed to come there once, twice. The third time, they're a little bit less friendly. Yeah.
There was a boy, a blogger, in your movie.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't see him. We
Yeah.
saw his
brother.
brother. Did you try to go at the hospital and ask police to get you to...
I wouldn't. This is a nice question. Thank you for that too. Yes, you're right. Michael's absent in the story. He was in jail when we were filming. I got to visit him. before I was filming, I just, Mark is saying, hey, I'm going to go visit my brother in jail. You want to come along? I said, great, sure, I'll come. So we were very nervous, but I went, and basically to find out also is, hey, well, I wonder if I can film inside the jail. You're thinking of certainly somebody could bring in a cell phone, maybe. Forget it. You were allowed to, we went to visit him for about 2 hours, and there's, the other prisoners are out, and there's lots of guards, way too many people. It's never gonna happen. So, but it was helpful then, because then Michael asked me, he said, well, why don't you go and talk to the prison officials, because I was the first foreigner that had ever visited him, and so I did, and said, I'm so delighted that Michael is doing so well, that you're treating him so well, and he says such, wonderful things about him, and maybe you could actually give him his heart medication that he needs, because people are really concerned outside in the West. So, that's I'm not an activist, but that's the standard activist thing people say, is that it's enough to know that someone is watching, right? The film gives you an indication that she's maybe falling into prostitution, right? Hopefully that's not the case. I'm never sure with her. We don't really know. Over the summer, we decided basically we'd have to try to follow up with her. We try to follow up with everybody, but particularly her, to find out what's happening and see if we can help her. So basically, we rented her a room over the summer, because her story, and it's not in the film, is that her father left the household, her mom. And in Egypt, to have your state ID so you can work, you have to have that signed by your father, be basically recognized by your dad. He refuses to do that. So she's in limbo land with the state and can't get a job. She doesn't have, I don't know what you call it in Romania or here. But now, if she has her own place, she can then be declared an orphan, and then she can start to work. So she did that, and at the end of the summer, she was starting to get some jobs as an actress in some films. Well, first of all, yeah, I do actually.
Because we can all see the disadvantages.
Yeah, the one advantage, and then actually a friend pointed out to me after my first film right away. She told me, she said, oh, well, actually, it could be an advantage because it'll make your intuition stronger. I haven't forgotten the comment. I think it's correct. Yeah, for sure.
You look more at the body language and things like that.
It's even more. I feel more animal than that, in a way. I don't know how to describe it, but yes, but to know, because I like cinema verite, so to start to know and feel, and I don't mean the dramatic things when someone's yelling or screaming, but to kind of know which way to go when something's happening. And I think that's why I'd like to show you then the second clip in the China film. You'll see where there's more quiet scenes where people are talking about extremely beautiful things. I have no clue what they're talking about, but you can feel that, oh, this is really good.